an electrical thing, but sometimes there's like a bass buzz hum in the headset, and somebody said it was because of an electrical grounding issue or something, which may be true because we've had some electrical static in our house a little bit. So that's probably it. But theirs were on laptops and ours is not. So I have a regular old desktop, but well, I shouldn't say regular old desktop, but it is a desktop computer. But okay, so really quickly, I do apologize. I forgot that I was teaching tonight, and so let me go ahead and cut to the bolts here, like what you had showed there, Aaron, which is a great presentation with the animations. Is the keyframes, and the keyframes, what I've got here on the left, if you guys can see the background, it just shifts, it steps through a different hexadecimal values. The green background kind of fluctuates, and I wanted it to kind of have like a pulse effect, and so I went through and I found about 10 shades of green that worked well, and I made 100% in 10% frames here, so there should be, I think there's 10. I don't know why I have a border radius on there. I was messing with something, but the keyframes there, basically it just steps through the keyframes, simple to use. You just list the keyframe, and then in this situation, let me scroll back to the top, I have called out the animation name with the body tag, and so the attribute of the body in the CSS is the animation name. And I found some super good animation, like with sprites and keyframes, and there's sprite sheets out there. You guys are probably familiar with them, and you take one big sheet of paper and you move it around based on the user input, and they were tying that to the keys so people could like make characters walk different directions and stuff. It was pretty cool. How to completely do that, like I say, that's a little bit above my understanding, but they broke it down really simple, and the site was actually, I have that site, I'll share the link with you guys, I'll post it, but it's the tutorial is super easy to understand. But as far as this background changing color goes, the animation iteration, I've got infinite here. Those attributes, the duration, much like the transitions, you can set the duration. There's timing, and there's other effects that can be affected. I have the attributes, I think, normal, reverse. I think that's what you were looking for. Instead of the alternate, you wanted the reverse. Well, no, reverse would have played it backwards. The alternate is supposed to play forwards first, then backwards. But when you hover off, I think that's a different event. So I think the way to fix what you had earlier, when you hover off, that's there's a different event. So you have to make a different CSS rule for that, and then just tie the animation, the reverse animation, perhaps. I could be way off, but I think that's how perhaps to do it, because there's on hover and then on blur. When you blur off of an object, it's a different event, and so that may be something to consider. Are they? Oh, okay. Here, let me do this. Okay. Let me do this. This is the code here on the website. Essentially, the website is it's just shifting through backgrounds, and so the code here. Let me zoom in. That's the okay. Yeah. Essentially, that's all. Yeah, exactly, and that's what happens. The computer basically, it just divides the just as a transition. This works. My understanding is this works just the same as a transition. In fact, that if we have 10 steps through the animation, yeah, then it divides out those in betweens and fills those from one state to the other based on our timing function and how we have it declared. The duration iteration is infinite. So in this one, what I did is I'll be descriptive. If you notice the colors, if you notice the colors up to 50%, from 50%, I actually used the same color for 40 and for 60. 40 and 60 match, 30 and 70 match, and then 20 and 80 match. So I'm going through 100% but my animation, actually, that's what makes it smooth to that color and then smooth back, is I have, I could have done the same thing by just going to 50% and then playing it alternate. I could have just deleted those and just said alternate, but you know, it works the same. So code-wise, it probably would have been much smarter to do that, is have the computer play it through to 50% and then back, and 50% and back, and so, or make that the 100% and then have it alternate. As far as that goes, as far as triggering the animations, I honestly, maybe I'm a little, you know, brand new to this and understanding, but as far as triggering the animations, triggering them was basically with the HTML events was the best that I found to do that. When I looked at all the animations, they were all being triggered with regular events, HTML5 events, and I mean, we can obviously use JavaScript to custom functions is one way to trigger them, as far as I know. And then you've got the built-in on hovers, blur, and the different events. And then with the animations, here was a cool one that I found that they did. You just click on the button and it adds a list item, just appends a list item, and then you can click on them and they just kind of disappear. As far as the transitions, but with the transitions, you know, it's real linear. There's just a start and a stop, and none of those really change. With the animations, the guy has a really cool clock here, and it's way above my understanding. This is something Steve probably, you know, obviously with this Tetris game. Was that you, Steve, that made the Tetris game? Yeah, and so I don't know if they did this with classes, but that was the other way too, is they were substituting classes. But everybody I found did that. I didn't want to include in my stuff that I was working on, because they were using jQuery, because they toggle class, I guess, is an easy way to do that. The ones that I found anyway had some toggle class stuff, and I don't know if he wants us doing that with any sort of, like, you know. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, so, I mean, your guys' knowledge and experience on that is going to be far superior to mine, but maybe you guys can enlighten me while we have a minute together, so I can learn from you guys in this as well. But as far as triggering the animations, I mean, is there other better ways to do that than just, you know, using the built-in hover events? I mean, because they seem like they cover pretty much everything in those events. HTML5 events anyway. Yeah, the HTML5 events, when I went on to you know, a lot of the tutorials and stuff I see, and they're using just on hovers for a lot of things. Wherever the mouse position is at activates a lot of these things. You know, there's on click and stuff, but are there better ways or other ways to activate these animations than what I found? Because that seems to be like the majority of what I found was like all. Right. Okay. 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 I had another instructor on the BYU campus when I started learning JavaScript in the very beginner course, and he's got a little book that he's writing. In his book, he just suggested always putting the JavaScript in the head. And I thought that to make it run more efficiently, the JavaScript usually needs to be at the bottom of the page, right? Because when it loads, then the JavaScript's sure to run instead of the others. Okay. 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 And you guys saw the post that he loaded this week into the course announcements, where he had a few links to pages there, and I went and read some or most of that, a few of them, and they were talking about what was it? Frameworks, like, making all this JavaScript framework, so people basically essentially they download. The first time they see the page, they have the framework there, or all the stuff there, and then every time they visit subsequent visits, and as they move around the website, then they already have all the stuff there. They're just getting content, and so the content is quick and fast, and for single page applications. So that seems kind of neat to me. But then, so they're, maybe I'm wrong, but that seems to me like the first time they go to the site, it takes a minute to load, and then they have all the stuff on the machine, and we take advantage of their accelerator, their built-in capabilities. Okay, and the service workers, do they need permission to run? Is there special regulation on that, or do we have, how do the... Oh. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Is it useful, is it probable to say that the future of the internet, then people will already have customized what they want their pages to look like, and then every site they go to, they just fill it with content, and it's exactly where they want it to be? Like, a person can say, I want all my navigation to look like this, no matter what site I'm on. Or I want all my advertisements to be down in the corner, no matter what site I go to. Or, predefined user surfing stuff. They probably already do some of that, I don't know, but yeah, okay. Huh, interesting. Very cool. Hey, do you have a link to that Tetris thing? Okay, that'd be cool. Yeah, I have one more minute left on the recorder, so I didn't know if you guys wanted to say anything, feedback, stuff like that. How are we done teaching? Is this the last meeting, the teaching? Yes. Okay. That'd be super cool, yeah, because I'm lacking a little bit. I mean, I'm behind, but I feel like I'm getting it. But my thing is, when I get into learning it, it's all brand new, so I'm pretty slow at getting it going to begin with. But so I spend a lot of time on just little things like related things that aren't necessarily the topic itself. But yeah, that would be great. That would be cool. I'd love to see what you guys have for your assignments too. What you guys have come up with, and then I can borrow your code and all sorts of stuff. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Yeah.